Can I amend my trust? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm an estate planning attorney, and today we're going to talk about what do you do if you spent all that time and money creating the perfect trust for you and your family, but now it's time to make some changes. So the reality is, if you're doing an estate plan that has a trust involved, you're probably doing some more advanced planning. Rather than a simple will that you tried to draft yourself from some website, your trust is probably tailored to your situation, tailored to your family to make sure it's achieving the goals that you set out. If you have a child with special needs, your trust is probably set up to make sure that they keep their government benefits. But what do you do when after all that planning, after all that time goes into it, you need to make a change? There's two main ways that you can make a change to your trust. The first is a trust amendment, and the second is what we call the restatement of the trust. So a trust amendment is a separate legal document. Depending upon the amount of changes you make, it can be a short or a little bit longer document. But really all it's doing is making a change to a certain part of your trust. So as opposed to changing the whole trust, we're going to use it solely for small changes. For example, if we're going to change a successor trustee, or let's say somebody got married and we want to update their name from their married name to their divorced name, or whatever change has been in their name. Or if we're adding or deleting a specific bequest. Let's say you had a specific bequest of your 56 Chevy Corvette, but now you sold the Corvette and you don't have that car anymore. We want to go back and make that change to your trust. With these kinds of small changes, we can just do a trust amendment, which is a shorter process where it's a short document, but it's signed in the same way you signed your trust. You don't need to do this all the time. Usually you're going to do it occasionally, usually when you have a few changes to make. But these can add up. I've seen trusts with 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th amendments, and after a while, you may want to consider the second option, which is a restatement of your trust. So we're going to use the restatement if we have major changes. So for example, if you've gotten divorced and your trust was for you and your wife, we may want to make a whole new trust because we don't want your former spouse to be the trustee and to be receiving the benefits of your trust. A restatement is longer than an amendment. It's not just a simple 1 or 2 pages. It's actually taking the entire trust, making your changes, and then calling it a restatement so that it's an entirely new trust. Now, one of the reasons why it's important to work with professionals is when you do this restatement, you may have to retitle assets, and you may need to sign other supplemental documents to reflect that there's a new trust. If you work with some website and you just have a trust that you downloaded, and now it's time to make changes, and let's say you check that box that says restatement, what happens next? What if that website doesn't tell you about all the other things you need to do after you restate your trust? So that's why when you're looking at amending your trust, there's 2 ways you can approach it. The first is do it yourself. You could try to go to that website, you can try to download the documents, you can hope you get it right. But if you spent all that time and energy creating the perfect trust, or especially if you have a special needs trust that's designed to protect those government benefits for a family member, you want to work with professionals, the second option. Work with your financial advisor, your accountant, your attorney. In the case of a special needs trust, work with your care managers. Make sure that you are doing the right version of making changes to your trust. You don't want to do the wrong version. You don't want to mess it up, and you don't want to endanger the benefits of your child. If there's a special needs trust, you don't want to give things to the wrong people. If it's a regular trust, if it's an irrevocable trust that's meant to plan for later in life, you don't want to mess it up so it becomes revocable at that time. So if you're not sure what to do to take those next steps, you can go to my website, andrewmayers.com. There's a red button that says Let's Schedule a Legal Strategy Session. Click that and you're taken to my personal calendar. We can have a 15 or 20 minute call and go over your current situation with your trust and give you some options for those next steps. Whether it's an amendment or whether it's a restatement, you want to make sure you get it right so that you keep your trust plan intact with the correct results you're aiming for.